Hello everyone, it's Old Guardian here. In this video, I'm going to take a look at the best budget decks in Hearthstone in Scholomance Academy. I also often take a look at the full cost decks and what are the best decks on there, and in those videos I always make extensive use of statistics, going through all the possible statistics on the decks to figure out which are the best ones. For budget decks that's a little bit more difficult because budget decks generally don't have that much statistics available, so the results of course are not as accurate. However, I think I can put them at least roughly in tiers. There's the first tier, which are the real staples. They're really good decks that I would be comfortable taking on ladder at any rank, at any time, and I know that I would do well. Then there's a bunch of decks that I'm a little bit less certain about, or maybe they require a little bit more specific meta. They have some weaknesses, so they're not one-size-fits-all solutions, or just don't have the sample size to really know whether they are good enough or not. And then there are some budget decks that I have built that are good enough to play, but not really great for climbing. You can win around half of your games with them. So you can complete quests with them, for example, and you can do some slow climbing, but if you really want to roll through the ladder, then they're not that great of a choice. But hey, let's go take a look at, I have 9 decks here, all the decks that I have built during Scholomance Academy, and let's rate them. So first of all, what is probably the best budget deck right now? It's Face Hunter. Face Hunter is very strong in Scholomance Academy. Budget version, full cost version, very small differences. Budget version is perfectly capable of rolling through the ladder to whatever rank you desire. Simply a phenomenal deck. Another deck that I would consider solid enough to recommend in any position is actually budget Aggro Rogue. I struggled a long time building this deck. It took me around 100 games of Rogue to find out what is actually the way, and it's sort of an amalgamation between Weapon Rogue and Stealth Rogue. I couldn't build either of the archetypes purely as a budget deck, but this sort of amalgamation with some of that resource generation. There's Wand Maker, there's Pharaoh Cat, there's Evil Miscreant. You don't have the same amount of card draw playing as budget as you have when you have Secret Passage and when you have Greyheart Sage, but you can compensate for that with some resource generation, and then this Sword, Toxin Blade, Cutting class, excellent combination, just allows you to deal a lot of damage. I had a great time playing this deck. The third budget deck that I would consider a staple that I would be happy to take on the ladder anytime is Aggro Demon Hunter. I have built a couple of different variants of Aggro Demon Hunter during Scholomance Academy. I built one with Skull of Gul'dan and Altruist the Outcast, so based on that ability to do those huge swing turns and real comeback mechanics. I also built another version without the Skull, without Altruist, and using Marrow Slicer. I don't think Skull and Marrow Slicer go in the same deck. They have some significant dyssynergy between them, and then it's the choice between the two. Either you go with the Marrow Slicer, you're a little bit more direct, you're a little bit more damaging, or you go with the Altruist Skull, you have a little bit more comeback mechanics, a little bit more swing turns. Just a slightly different approach. And I currently really like the Altruist approach with the Cult Neophytes to deck against mages, deck against druids, and with the Frozen Shadow Weaver to hurt any classes that want to hit you in the face. So just a lovely little deck. These 3 decks are the ones that I consider the staples. These are the best budget decks. So if you want to climb the fastest, the most reliable way, then these 3. Face Hunter, Aggro Rogue, and Aggro Demon Hunter. Those are your friends if you just want to climb real quick, no questions asked. However, there are more budget decks that are capable of reaching legend than those, one of them being the Gibbering Druid. Gibbering Druid was really good at the start of Scholomance Academy. It has fallen behind a little bit. This deck actually has good statistics available about it. It's currently rocking a little bit over 51% win rate in Diamond. Its weakest matchup is the Soul Demon Hunter, which just seems to wreck it completely, and that's the major weakness it has, and one of the reasons that it's not absolutely top tier anymore, but it's still a capable deck and it can be a fun deck to play. Whereas budget Secret Paladin is something that I have brewed and has not had enough games played that I would be able to get global statistics on HS replay for this. I only have my own statistics. I did very well with the deck, but sample sizes, when we're talking about tens of games, it's not just that reliable yet. Anyway, Paladin, when you're trying to build Paladin on a budget, Paladin is one of the winners in Scholomance Academy, but then there's Libram of Hope, and there's Lady Liadrin, and there's Haya Besalura. So expensive cards, and they are some of the cornerstones of the meta Paladin decks. But I've actually found that by putting in a good secret package, then using Secret Keeper, Mysterious Blade, Sunriver Spy, and combining that with the powerful new cards that are being used in many decks, First Day of School, Goody Two Shields and Voracious Reader, I was able to build a pretty interesting aggro secret paladin that was able to win games, so I really hope more people will try this out so we can get some good statistics on it. Another favorite of mine is the Burn Shaman. I think a lot of people are building Burn Shaman incorrectly. They are building it with so many expensive cards, and Burn Shaman is it's just not a deck like that. It's a deck that wants to first put some minions on the board, maybe buff them up a little, chip in damage with those minions, and then move on to just burning phase later on. Minions that cost 5 mana or 6 mana, they're simply too expensive for the deck. You can't really make good use of them. So I've built this very low curve Burn Shaman, and I've had good success with this. I built this already back in August, and I replayed it during my September climb as well, exact same list, and still had great success with it. So I'm a big believer in Burn Shaman when it's built to be very, very aggressive. During my adventures with Rogue, one of the things that I tried was Gala Rogue, and this was actually the second most successful Rogue deck that I played on a budget. Building these questing adventures, it's ironic actually that I don't really use Gala in this deck so much. This deck is more about the questing adventure and the lackeys and the resources. So you have the questing, you have lots of lackeys, lackeys give you spells and buffs and more minions. It's more about just using the Galagrund invoke cards to generate lackeys for yourself than it is about using the Galagrund itself. The more aggressive approach on Rogue does seem to be better, but this is still something that seems playable as well. Then I have a couple of decks that I was able to hit a little bit over 50% win rate, but I just couldn't really make them climb worthy, and they are priest decks. I was trying to build control deck on a budget, and I tried to build Big Warrior, and that failed, and I tried to build Warlock, and that failed. The only control deck that had any success was priest. And this one is the better of the two. This is a Galagrund control priest. So priest decks in general are moving more towards this tempo style and lots of stealing synergies. But all those stealing cards are epic cards. And all those cards that give you tempo, they're like Mind Flayer, Karsh and Words on the Infinite, legendary cards. So those are really expensive. So if you want to build Galagrund priest on a budget, you have to go for more of a control approach. You still need a couple of epic cards. Zetek Veilweavers give you access to spells that you otherwise wouldn't have, and then Plague of Death gives you some good removal. And with those you can play this sort of slower control style as priest. I also tried another variant, which is this one, a Resurrect Priest. Again, the Resurrect Priest list that we're currently seeing, they're running stuff like Archmage's Vargot, they're running Katrina Muerte, they might not even run the Galagrund package. And that's okay because you hit like Vargot with your Mass Resurrection and it casts another Mass Resurrection, you get these really huge swing turns. But those are not available on a budget, so on a budget you need a secondary plan that is just going in with Galagrund should your Resurrects fail to win the game. But other than that, Resurrect Priest is as annoying as ever. You play some minions, Convincing Infiltrators, Water Bearers, you resurrect them with Psycho Bombs, Mass Resurrections, you Grave Rune them, you Psyche Split them. That's just a lot of ways for you to make those minions and their effects come back again and again. That said, both of these priest decks are a little bit weaker than your average climb-worthy budget deck. But these are the most control-oriented decks that you can play on a budget, because playing Warlock or playing Warrior on a budget control style simply is not viable. I get a lot of questions about which budget deck you should play, and I hope that this video clarifies the question somewhat. You can find deck-specific guides for all of these decks on my YouTube channel, so check them out for further information on whatever deck you want. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed the show, please click the like button and subscribe to my channel for more.